around food, right? Good morning to you specifically if you're tucking into your breakfast. I'm Connor Phillips with you between now and 9:30 this morning. Now, as we've just mentioned, the fact that Love Island came back last evening with a special tribute to Caroline Flack, the tragic news that the TV presenter took her own life, has brought suicide into sharp focus. It's shocking to say that it is still the biggest killer of men in the UK under the age of 45. It's all too easy to say that we're feeling fine when we're not. But it doesn't have to be that way. And thankfully, there are plenty of places here on Merseyside that offer help. Now, Jess Gallier runs the Martin Gallier Project, a suicide prevention centre in memory of her late father who took her own life. And she's been patiently waiting, sitting in front of me this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Connor. Good, thank you. How are you?
How's your morning gone so far?
Oh, it's early, isn't it?
An early one, isn't it?
Early and cold.
And you were here a while ago as well, so fair play to you.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get here before Starbucks opened, so I could get a coffee in before I got here.
I need it. Can we do that, please? Oh, I'm not on tomorrow. It's fine. I get away with it. I get away with Kat making the brilliant coffee she does. Tell me a little bit, if I can, or let me hear a little bit about your dad.
Okay, my dad was 55 when he died. He was the funniest man I think I've ever met in my whole life, and probably the funniest man I'd ever hoped to meet. He was life and soul of any party, and I suppose like most little girls, he was my first love. He was my first hero, and he was just a really funny guy.
It's the people you don't expect to take their own lives which rocks worlds sideways.
Absolutely.
I lost a friend of mine about 6 weeks ago to exactly the same thing, and exactly the same, life and soul. Walked into a room, the room completely lit up, and then the questions start to come into your head. How? Why? How long does it take to come to terms with that?
I mean, we're 3 years in now. It's just been the third anniversary, and when we've come to terms with it, I'll let you know. It's not something that you ever get over. It's something that you learn to build your life around and change your life around, and you learn to accept it. But I don't think it's ever something that you completely come to terms with or get over in any way.
Suicide prevention is the ethos, I suppose, around the Martin Gallier Project.
Yeah.
And you and I could have conversations here now about the signs and what you should have seen and could have seen. And anybody who's been in the situation where they're talking about suicide always has that thing. Yeah. Why didn't I know? How didn't I know? But it's not as simple as that, sure it's not.
No. So here's the thing. Suicide is preventable. Suicide's totally preventable if we know about it. Now, people are very, very good, especially people like your friend and people like my dad. People are so good at hiding what's really going on that we're not going to know about that unless we ask the question. So, I mean, we can talk about these signs. I didn't see it coming. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't saying anything. Well, ask the question. It's the same as anything. And if you don't know the answer to something, you ask the question. But we're so British, aren't we? And we think, oh, I can't offend anyone. I can't ask an awkward question. How awkward. I don't want to put myself in that situation. If we don't ask the question, we don't know the answer. If we don't know the answer, we can't do anything with that.
How do we ask the question to everybody?
It's really simple and it's uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. I do it every single day and it's uncomfortable. You ask the question, you say, are you considering suicide? Are you thinking of ending your own life? We don't skirt around it. You can't. Let's just squash a myth right now. You can't plant the thought of suicide in somebody's head if they're not already thinking it. So we all go around and we think, oh, I can't ask a clear and direct question about suicide. What if I make them think that that's what they want to do and then they do it? That's never happened. It's not going to happen. It's a myth. So we ask the question. We don't ask it in a really indirect, awkward way. So we don't say, oh, you're not going to do something stupid, are you? Because if you ask a question like that, the answer you're going to get is, oh, no, of course not. And that might not be truthful. We ask a clear and direct question. Are you considering suicide? Are you considering ending your own life? Have you got plans to end your life?
What about the theory that if somebody has made a decision to end their own life, that it's difficult to turn back from that?
Okay, so we would argue that the fact that someone is willing to disclose that information to you means there's a tiny element of hope. They might not know it, they might not know what it is that's keeping them alive, but something's keeping them alive because they're sat here having that conversation with you. And it's your job at that point to find out what it is that's keeping them alive, what it is that's keeping them going. Sometimes it's people's kids, sometimes it's their pet, sometimes it's their job, sometimes it's their parents. It's completely individual to that person. So by digging around and asking a load of questions about how they've got to this point, what's going on for them, why do they feel that this is their only option, in that somewhere, if you listen long enough, I promise you, if you listen long enough, there'll be something in there, a little glimmer of hope. Their eyes might widen, the skin tone might change, their body language might change, their posture might change, but there'll be something that's keeping them alive. They don't know it, but you find it and you cling onto it with both hands, and you use that to start the work you need to do to get them to consider, another option.
You're brilliant.
Thank you. That's the first time I've heard that this morning at 7:15.
I think we need more institutions like the Martin Gallagher Project.
We do.
You've been going a year. What have the successes been, if I can ask you, if that's the right term?
Yeah, absolutely. They are successes, and we celebrate them as such. So on Sunday, the 23rd, coming up, it will be a year since we opened our front doors. And we knew the project was needed, and we knew the project would be a success. But we didn't know quite how needed or quite how successful. So day 4, so we opened on the Saturday, officially opened the Monday morning. Day 4, so Thursday, we saved the first life from that building, which was incredible. And we thought, okay, maybe it's a one-off, maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's, and then it just kept happening and kept happening and kept happening. So we were coming up to the first year. We don't keep records or anything like that on people, but we do keep a tally of who we've seen and what we've seen them for. Have we seen them to give them a bit of advice about a family member, or have we seen them to do a full-on intervention because they've made plans to end their life? So we know that in the year we've it's upwards of 400 people that have had a full-blown intervention. So 400 people who had plans to end their life that we did some work with. And I don't think we've officially announced this yet, but all 400 of those people are still here. So that's a 0 suicide rate. And I suppose we're really lucky and really grateful and really honoured to be able to celebrate that 0 suicide rate across the year.
And of those 400, are people coming back to you and working with you and explaining their experiences to people who come along to the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So some people we see as a one-off, and then we don't see them again, and they change their mind about suicide and they go off and they flourish. Some people we see every single week, and we do an intervention with them every single week. And some of them are so brave that once they've come out of that period of their life, they come to me and they say, Jess, I want to help other people now. Can I volunteer? Can I help with some press stuff? Can I get my story out there? Can I tell everybody what I've been through so that they know it's okay to talk about it as well? And those people are just heroes to me.
I've run way over here.
Oh, sorry, that's
delighted.
Me. I can't stop talking.
I am delighted that I have. I genuinely mean that. I'm going to force people throughout the morning. I'm going to mention this conversation we've had in the morning. So hello to you if you're listening back to us, having heard me say or anyone say, listen back to this on the BBC Sounds app. There are going to be people who have turned to this conversation because they've heard that the conversation was had on the radio, and they're going to be, like you said, they're going to be still here.
Yeah.
They're going to have incredible doubts about their worth on this planet. What would you say to them?
Everything can be solved. There's very, very few things in this world that cannot be solved, and by discussing those things with somebody else, there might be some options there that you perhaps haven't thought of, so far. So have a conversation, and to all those other people that aren't feeling like that, have a conversation with someone today. Have a conversation with that boy in your class that has been quite quiet, and have a conversation with your friend that didn't turn up for the night out on Saturday, or a family member that's been a bit withdrawn. Have conversations with the people in your life and just be really open about suicide and about mental health.
And you can do that through gallierhouse.co.uk. Now, we leave all the details with BBC Radio Merseyside's A team. That's GALLIER house.co.uk. And Jess, you're incredibly brave.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I think I needed this today.
Really?
Yeah, just I've heard a lot about this story with Caroline Flack over the last couple of days.
It's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
And then when you have had an incident like this in your life, or you know somebody has, it just brings that's a really dramatic thing. It brings it all back, but it refocuses things back again. I think I needed to talk to you today. I'm glad I did.
Thank you.
GallierHouse.co.uk. All the details are up there, Jess. Thank you for joining me on BBC Radio Merseyside. Thank you. So good morning. Welcome to BBC Radio Merseyside this morning. Your traffic and travel coming up very shortly. I'm Connor Phillips with you between now and 9:30 this morning. Your headlines has claimed that an 82-year-old man with dementia was left to lie in his own vomit and faeces at the Royal Liverpool Hospital. Residents in flood-hit parts of the UK are anxiously waiting to return to their homes to see the extent